Hi, it's Greg with Garage Door Politics. And have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When we were trying to get this podcast off the ground, we had a lot of questions. How do we record an episode? How do we get our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do we make money from our podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor FM is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculous easy to use. Plus, Anchor matches you with sponsors so you can get paid to do your podcast. It doesn't matter whatever your podcast is. It can be anything. So just go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to get your podcast rolling off today.
Well, welcome everyone to Garage Door Politics. And I am your host, Greg, and it is 1 year now since Joe Biden has taken office, and we want to give him his report card. So anyway, we want to welcome all our listeners on Anchor FM, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, radio.com, and anywhere you can listen to Garage Door Politics on the internet or on the radio, anywhere you can. And so it's Biden 1 year later, and are we better off? Are we better off? Are you better off? Am I better off? I mean, everybody has their opinion about it, but I don't know. And so let's look back and see what he's done in a year. Now, I know a year is not a big, is what we want to call kind of a benchmark. But still, in 1 year, you should be able to start implementing your ideas, your agenda, your policies, and kind of go through, what you're setting up for your term. So let's look back at all that, and also too, we're going to listen to a little bit. Joe Biden had a press conference yesterday, and it was quite a lengthy one. I believe it was almost 2 hours, and a lot of people got battle fatigue over that one. But it's just it was just the longest one I've ever seen a president give. But anyway, so let's look at his accomplishments or not accomplishments, what he's done. Uh, I've got a couple lists here. I've got COVID-19, I got the economy, I got his foreign policy, pertaining to Afghanistan. So let's start out with COVID-19. And here's what Joe had to say at the press conference yesterday about COVID-19.
Country. And we know why. COVID-19, Omicron has now been challenging us in a way that it's the new enemy. But while it's cause for concern, it's not cause for panic. We've been doing everything we can, learning and adapting as fast as we can, and preparing for a future beyond the pandemic. All I know that after almost 2 years of physical, emotional, and psychological weight of this pandemic and the impact it's had on everyone, for many of us, it's been too much to bear.
Okay, let's go back to that now. COVID-19. been too much to bear. Well, yeah, it has been because it's just people are tired of wearing masks. They're tired of all these new variants coming out. They're tired of do we get vaccinated? Even if we get vaccinated, it's still not enough. I mean, it's people are just kind of really tired, and even the mandates, the Supreme Court has struck that one down that Biden tried to implement his mandate on the the big businesses in the United States. He did do it for the federal employees, and the Supreme Court did let the one for the healthcare workers go through. So, I mean, it's done something, but it wasn't, just everything that's, that's been taking place as far as, that goes. And so, and I don't know where we're at. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. And it's just, we've got to get, you got to get past this. And it doesn't look like, anything's getting done on the federal government side. I mean, they're just throwing stuff at the wall and hope it sticks, and it's not sticking. And people don't want to wear a mask everywhere. People don't, it's just fatigue. People are fatigued. So I got to give Joe Biden a C. He gets a C on COVID-19, and he, he's going to have to come up with something a little bit more. Uh, I don't know what you want to call it. Some more implications. So anyway, let's go back to Biden and his press conference.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know some of my colleagues will get into some specific issues, but I wanted to zoom out on your first year in office. Inflation is up. Your signature domestic legislation is stalled in Congress. In a few hours from now, the Senate, an effort in the Senate to deal with voting rights and voting reform legislation is going to fail. COVID-19 is still taking the lives of 1,500 Americans every day, and the nation's divisions are just as raw as they were a year ago. Did you overpromise to the American public what you could achieve in your first year in office, and how do you plan to course correct going forward?
Why are you such an optimist? Look, I didn't overpromise, but I have probably outperformed what anybody thought would happen. The fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where we have made enormous progress. You mentioned the number of deaths from COVID. Well, it was 3 times that.
Okay, so now Joe Biden has said that he's probably outperformed. Anybody out there believe that? Anybody out there believe that he's outperformed? That the jury's still out on that. I mean, I'm not real sure about if he's outperformed. Store shelves, we have the economies, there's no product. They're having trouble getting people to work. It's this, I think it's between the COVID-19 and the supply chain giving people money that causes them not to want to work. And it's just kind of a comedy of errors as far as, but how can you tell yourself that you've actually outperformed? I mean, what was the expectation then? I mean, was it to totally just be a dumpster fire, or was it actually try to do something? I just don't see it happening right now. And to say that on TV at a press conference is kind of, I would say self-fulfilling. But as far as that goes, I just can't. I can't say that was probably good. Anyway, we'll be right back. Let's go to a commercial. Has anybody out there thought starting your own audio podcast? Well, we at Garage Door Politics decided we want to go with an audio podcast. We didn't know where to go, what to do, how to start it. And then we found Anchor FM. Anchor's your one-stop shop for uploading, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Uh, it's really simple to use, and it's free, doesn't cost you a nickel, and plus you can possibly get paid to podcast. So if you would like more information, just go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start. And they can get you up and running in about 15 minutes, and you'll be on your way to podcast heaven. All right. Okay, back to Joe Biden. He had a pretty long press conference yesterday, and it was like I said, a lot of people. I mean, I even took the time to try to go through it and to listen to it, and it was difficult at best, and so I I just I did watch the whole thing, but it got to the point. It got to the point where it was just about unwatchable. anyway, okay. So we've gone down. I give him an F on the economy only because of what's happening. I mean, people are just there's just no, there's nothing. The price of gas, the price of groceries, empty shelves, and inflation. I mean, throwing the money, it just makes it worse. It just makes it worse. Especially the inflation is the highest in 39 years, I heard, and so he gets an F on the economy. He gets a D on COVID, a C on COVID. I'm sorry, and an F on the economy. Now let's go to his foreign policy. They did touch on it, and he, uh, he was talking about Russia. Russia's trying to invade Ukraine, and this happened before. This happened on a on a watch, Obama's watch when Crimea took place. I believe that was in 2015. Uh, so it's draw the line in the sand. There was a line in the sand, and I remember all of that uh, going on, and Obama didn't do anything, and Putin just took Crimea. He basically took Crimea. So anyway, the question is now. Yesterday at the press conference, did Joe Biden give Vladimir Putin carte blanche just to go into Ukraine? Well, here, let's listen and you make your own decision on that.
Russia very quickly. It seemed like you said that you have assessed, you feel as though he will move in. Has this administration, have you determined whether President Putin plans to invade or move into Ukraine, as you said?
Look, the only thing I'm confident of is that decision is totally, solely, completely a Putin decision. Nobody else is going to make that decision. No one else is going to impact that decision. He's making that decision. And I suspect it matters which side of the bed he gets up on in the morning as to exactly what he's going to do. And I think it is not irrational, if he wanted to talk about dealing with strategic doctrine and dealing with force structures in Europe and in the European parts of Russia. But I don't know whether he's decided he wants to do that or not. So far, in the 3 meetings we've had, OSCE, and anyway, have not produced anything, because the impression I get from my Secretary of State, my National Security Advisor, and my other senior officials that are doing these meetings is that there's a question of whether the people they're talking to know what he is going to do. So the answer is, but based on a number of criteria as to what he could do. For example, for him to move in and occupy the whole country, particularly from the north, from Belarus, he's going to have to wait a little bit till the ground's frozen so he can cross. To move in a direction where he wants to talk about what's going. We're continuing to provide for defense capacities to the Ukrainians. We're talking about what's going on in both the Baltic and the Black Sea, et cetera. There's a whole range of things that I'm sure he's trying to calculate how quickly he can do what he wants to do and what does he want to do. But he's an informed individual. And I'm not sure, I believe he's calculating what the immediate, short term, and the near term and the long term consequences of Russia will be. And I don't think he's made up his mind yet.
Okay. So did we just figure out what the hell he just said? I don't know. I mean, the ground freezing and you can't move, and you know, what about the airplanes? I mean, the airplanes don't matter. I mean, you know, he can. I'm the more I listen to the foreign policy. I mean, let's go back to Afghanistan. I mean, what a debacle that was. I mean, if you're going to get out, yeah, that's fine, but let's do it without cost, and let's do it, you know, without, just looking like fools all over the world. And then now, just last week, we sent the Taliban, you know, $500 million or something like that. I mean, the foreign policy is just, and now North Korea is ramping up its uh, missile launches again. You know, where they were dormant during the Trump administration, but uh, it gets to the point, you know, when you gotta quit doing the blame game. You gotta quit blaming the past presidency. You gotta quit blaming the other party. Sometimes you gotta point the finger at yourself, and I don't see that happening here. And that's probably why China, Russia, North Korea, all these countries are just taking advantage. They're taking advantage because they know that they've got someone in there who at best, is an older guy, and but I don't see him as maybe a one-term president, but also too now it's going to hurt his colleagues because you got the midterms coming up, which is at about 9 months, I believe the midterms are in November. So his approval rating is pretty low, 30%. Kamala Harris, his vice president, is even lower than that, and she's non-existent. You don't even see her unless it's for uh, being on Vogue or cover of Vogue or something. I mean, she's probably been the most, I would say, not noticed vice president in history because you never see her. She's just always under wraps. So and before now, the mainstream media until now, I got to give them credit now, but before they weren't calling these people out, but now they're calling them out, and so they're we're going to see how that works out because they called him out yesterday on the press conference, and I believe now that they're going to start really questioning what's going on in the White House and in Congress. So let's let's see what they do. Let's see what they do. So anyway, and now it's time. It's time. It's time for our Everybody's Got One segment, and that's Everybody's Got One. And now you know what that means. I hope everybody's got one, and that's an opinion. And my opinion of the first year in Biden's term is an overall D. he gets a D so far in the first year. So it's wait to be seen. I mean, you never know. He may come out of it. He may not. He may lose all the midterms. He may keep going forward. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So anyway, that's all we got today on Garage Door Politics, and we'll see you next time.
Rush to the sun.